Now, your forecast first, sponsored by Matex Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing.
All right, good evening to you tonight. We've got generally clear skies out there once again, but actually it's still pretty breezy with winds that are upwards of 20 miles an hour right now. We are going to take those numbers and double them by the time we reach tomorrow. So watch out for that. 43 in Champaign right now. It is also 48 in Springfield. Now, tomorrow we actually make it all the way up to the 60s. But again, we're talking about some really strong winds. We've got a wind advisory in effect and a little bit of rain in store for the weekend. We'll let you know when that arrives when we come back. WCIA 3 News starts right now.
Now on WCIA 3 News.
A federal indictment in the comment case hits Speaker Madigan's inner circle. How officials say his allies kept his name out of it. Plus, a soldier from central Illinois was killed overseas. How a town made sure his family knew they were there to support them.
And a pastor fought COVID-19 for weeks in a hospital. How his community greeted him when he finally got out.
You're watching your local news leader. This is WCIA 3 News at 10.
New court documents filed late today show federal prosecutors closing in on Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan's inner circle. Good evening. I'm Paul Cicchini.
And I'm Jessica Coons. U.S. attorneys describe Speaker Madigan as, quote, public official A in the 50-page indictment, but they do not charge him personally. Instead, the Justice Department makes the case against 4 of his longtime associates and explain how they work to keep his name out of it. Our Capitol Bureau Chief Mark Maxwell is live in Springfield tonight. Mark, an interesting tidbit here. This federal indictment says they would use a secret code to be careful not to refer to the speaker by name.
And in that 50-page indictment, federal prosecutors lay out the case against Speaker Madigan's inner circle with 9 counts of criminal, corruption, and conspiracy. 3 of the defendants, former lobbyists with ComEd. 1 of them, the company's former CEO. The power company has already admitted to its role in this scheme and agreed to pay a $200 million fine to avoid criminal charges like these. The power players themselves won't get off so easy. Now, these court documents describing in detail how they would often refer to Speaker Madigan as, quote, our friend, or as, quote, a friend of ours, to conceal his identity. And it would also show, these documents show all the way from the summer internship program all the way up to the board of directors, all the way throughout ComEd. Madigan's pals got paid, and often the brass had to make sure it happened. At times with a nudge from Madigan's longtime confidant, Mike McLean. One email summing it up this way. McLean writing, I know the drill, and so do you. If you don't get involved and resolve this issue of a special lucrative contract for a law firm, then he, the lawyer, will go to our friend. Our friend will call me, McLean says, and then I will call you, asking, is this a drill we must go through? Quote, I just don't understand why we have to spend valuable minutes on items like this when we know it will provoke a reaction from our friend, appearing to speak to Madigan's vindictive nature there. The former CEO, Anne Pramaggiore, responding, sorry, no one informed me. I am on this. Now, their day in court is not even on the calendar yet, but already all 4 defendants are making their case through a spokesperson or through their attorney, saying they plan to fight this before a jury. They say they are innocent of these charges. McLean's attorney, most forceful, saying he won't flip, but could he take the fall? Speaker Madigan himself, not charged in these documents, has claimed his innocence as well. But his own peers, the House of Representatives, elects a speaker in January. Will he maintain the grip on his gavel, or will they decide that it's time for him to leave? That much remains to be seen. Reporting in Springfield, Mark Maxwell.
Certainly a lot to unpack there. All right, Mark, thank you so much. Other news tonight, a Champaign murder suspect is fighting his extradition back to Illinois. 16-year-old Garyante Brown was shot and killed last week. Calvin Williams is being charged for his death. He's currently in custody in Michigan, but has refused extradition. The Champaign County Sheriff's Office is waiting for a governor's warrant to bring him back.
The family of a fallen soldier says in his 23 years, Sergeant Jeremy Sherman touched more lives than they could have imagined. Sergeant Sherman died in a helicopter crash in Egypt on Thursday. Now friends and strangers in Watsika are making sure Sherman's family knows they aren't alone. WCIA 3's Jen Lask shows us how.
There's no words. It's unbelievable.
Dozens of American flags line the streets of Watsika in honor of a fallen soldier who was a son, a brother, a husband. Sergeant Jeremy Sherman died November 12th in a helicopter crash over Egypt's Sinai Peninsula. He was one of 5 American soldiers killed in a peacekeeping mission. Sergeant Sherman's family just returned from the dignified transfer at Dover and say as they were driving into town, they were surprised and deeply, deeply touched at all of the American flags lining the roads.
That many people that you don't know that have reached out, that is don't even know them, and when they talk with you, the eyes are so watery, and you can see the sincerity in them.
Sherman's father, Scott Childress, says his son was fearless.
Jeremy loved what he did. He loved it and wasn't scared. That's all he talked about. That's all he talked about was a helicopter, the bird.
Those who know Sherman say it's not just that fearlessness that stood out, but also his selflessness.
If anyone of his friends was going through something, he would try and help them with what he could.
Shay is holding on to this picture of him and their friend Tiffany at homecoming 7 years ago.
They don't have any hair.
It says everything you need to know about her brother's heart.
She was going through chemo and everything, and she lost her hair, and Jeremy had just shaved his head also for her.
It was shocking for his family because
he loved his hair.
The impact that he's had on people, didn't think it was that much, but it has. And the things that we've heard about our son from other people, and that's him. You know, that's him.
Ultimately, his dad says he couldn't be anything but proud.
He had to live life to the fullest, and he did. In his 23 years, and he did.
In Watsika, Jen Lask, WCIA 3, your local news leader.
Sergeant Sherman's parents say funeral arrangements are being made while they await his final journey back home. And a community is rallying around a coach dealing with heart issues. Marcus Forrest is the football coach at Danville High School. He recently learned he has congestive heart failure. Forrest isn't the type of person to talk much about himself, but his family started asking for donations to help with medical bills. They were overwhelmed by the amount of people who stepped up to help.
We are normally the givers. That's our heart. We love to give. We love to help. So for the community in Danville and outside of Danville to want to bless us and help us and give, it's life-changing.
Forrest needs a heart transplant. He's undergoing tests to see what kind would be best. We have more information about how to give on our website.
A Danville pastor spent weeks on a ventilator fighting for his life after contracting COVID-19. Today, a parade of cars greeted him as he celebrated recovery. WCIA 3's Jennifer Jensen is with us. Jennifer, this was a touching moment for his family.
Jessica, it was. They were so grateful for the outpouring of support. Nearly 100 cars drove by to greet this man as he came home.
Car after car drove down the street in front of Thomas Miller's house, welcoming him home from the hospital.
He just began to get ill and start having the symptoms of no taste, chills, etc.
All the symptoms of COVID-19 became reality when he tested positive for the virus.
When it hit him like that, we all was just in shock.
He was in the hospital for about 6 weeks. His family waited, wondering if or when he would recover.
He battled. He had a very tough battle, and it was pretty dark for a while. It was very difficult, but he taught us how to pray.
Miller is the pastor at New Life Church in Danville. Prayer was what his family held on to during the time of uncertainty. While in the hospital, Miller recovered and was able to come home.
For him to come through and make it through it, was a great miracle.
It was a touching moment for the Miller family to see so many people show up to support their father coming home safely.
This makes me want to cry. This is beautiful.
It made me cry. I just cried just to see so many come out.
Miller has been the pastor at New Life Church for almost 40 years. After a full recovery, he'll have the chance to continue leading his congregation. Back to you.
That's good to hear. All right, Jennifer, thank you. One company working on a COVID-19 vaccine has applied for emergency use authorization. Pfizer says results show its vaccine is 95% effective. They add it appears to protect older people and has virtually no side effects. Another drug maker, Moderna, announced its COVID-19 vaccine was 95% effective earlier this week. The total number of new cases for Illinois dropped today. Almost 9,000 were announced. The positivity rate also dropped to 14.2%, but hospitalizations are up to almost 6,000 people. 140 people have died since yesterday, including 10 from central Illinois. That death toll is now more than 11,000.
Ameren, Illinois started its winter shutoff moratorium early because of COVID and the cold. Disconnections were suspended as of today, but it's encouraging people to pay whatever they can to avoid falling too far behind. For more information about what's happening, you can visit WCIA.com.
It was an issue that caused massive flooding in one city, but that won't be the case anymore.
Plus, if there's a large fire, you call the fire department. Why that wasn't supposed to happen this time.
And the Big Ten basketball schedule is finally out, where the Illini are set to play.